Zechariah 11 to 12. I read 11 yesterday and 12 today, but I didn't have time to look in the study Bible because I wasn't really understanding it, and that's why I held off, and then I forgot about it because work was so busy. But here it is, 11. I think this first part is actually like related to the chapter, the end of chapter 10, because the end of chapter 10 was like the scepter of Egypt will depart, so Egypt won't have power anymore. And then so now it's talking about like Lebanon being doomed, and then the so the mighty trees are ruined, the cedar has fallen, the pride of the Jordan is in ruins. So this is all. I don't know why they cut it off like this, but I think it should be cut off right here. And then verse 4 and on is like different. So verse 4 and on is like the prophecy of the shepherds. That's what it says in the study Bible. So then when reading the notes, it seems like Zechariah is role playing, and so there is gonna be so there are worthless shepherds who doesn't take pasture the flock. But then there's like one staff called favor and the other union. So the favor is like God having favor on the Israelite, and the union is the north and the south, like being one. But then so he pretty much cut it up later on, signifying that the favor would be removed and the union would be broken too. So then it's also 30 shekel of silver as his wages, but then he threw it into the potter, and actually this signify what happens to Jesus. Jesus was sold. Jesus, the good shepherd, was sold for 30 shekels of silver, and then that was used to buy the potter field. And so I like it's there's really no indication that this would be a foreshadowing of Jesus' life, but there's too much resemblance to not notice. And so I was looking it up to see in the study Bible if it was a like kind of prophecy. And this is right here, it says right here, 1 to 17. After his tender promises to the flock, Zechariah returned his focuses to the shepherd he addressed in chapter 10, 1 to 5. So the shepherd leaders will lose their glory. And then, so verses 4 to 14, Zechariah portrays a shepherd whom the sheep reject, signifying how Israel will one day treat Jesus. In 15 to 17, the prophet play another role, that of a foolish shepherd who does not care for the flock. So verse 12 and 13, the 30 pieces of silver, roughly the price of a slave, I did not know that, was determined the value of Israel's shepherd, capital S, who is Jesus, both at his time and at the time of his betrayal by Judas Iscariot. Human nature disregards or dismisses that which costs them little. So then it talks about verse 17. There is a 15 and on. It talks about the foolish shepherd and how God will kind of blind his right eye and wither his arm. And so for verse 17, the study Bible said, "In the end, the Lord will judge the worthless shepherd, withering his arm that should have protected the sheep, and blinding his right eye that should have watched over them." And so I wonder who this worthless shepherd is. But it sounds like one person. I'm not sure if it's one person or multiple person. So there are a lot of questions about that. Has he come yet? Has he not come? And then for chapter 12, it's pretty much how any nation who tried to gain victory over Jerusalem, it will get hurt. So the study Bible said verse 3 right here, a very heavy stone is literally a stone of burden. Just as lifting something too heavy causes internal injuries within the human body, any nation that tried to gain victory over Jerusalem would grievously injure itself. The proud Gentile nations would be unable to subdue Israel. And then, so God would seek to destroy all nations that come against Israel. And then, so then they will turn back to him. They will recognize whom they pierced. They will weep bitterly over Jesus, as if bitter weeping of a firstborn. And then so then in the study Bible, it says Zechariah prophesies a change in Israel's attitude toward the Lord. They had rejected him in the past, but in the future they would come to their senses and lament what they had done. So verse 10, yes, and right here they will look at me whom they pierced. That's very important, because in the original context here, the Lord himself is the one who is pierced. And they actually pierced Jesus, but Jesus is God. And so God is saying that they actually pierced him. Israel's rejection of God eventually took the form of rejecting God's Son, symbolized by the Roman soldier's spear thrust in the Jesus' side as he hung on the cross. So the study Bible helped to clarify a lot of what I was reading in these two chapters. And that's it.